You can see that he gives a lot of great advice, and I like the advice that he gives. It kind of feels like a little bit of Proverbs with what he's saying, and he's talking about no satisfaction in the future. You know, we look to the future, we plan for the future, but the bottom line is there's no satisfaction. Solomon was running these experiments, man's wisdom under the sun, based on his experience with everything that he did. And the truth is, he did more things than I could ever hope to do in my lifetime. But he found that his life was empty and purposeless apart from Christ. He found that he had no victory, that no wealth, no love. I can't imagine where you can own it all financially, but then look to your right and your left and have nobody that cares about you. You know, his daddy died, and he knew that though he wasn't close to his daddy, it's kind of a sad deal that his dad tried to mentor him, but you know, David unfortunately was just not a very good dad. But he did love his son, and he made a lot of mistakes, and he did a lot of things that David, I know he had a lot of regrets. You know, be a kind of daddy that had a lot of regrets. We might have a daddy here that, you know, you think to yourself, boy, if I could go back, I'd do some things different. You know, if I could go back, I would have handled things different. But, you know, David, he couldn't go back. What he did do is he got on his deathbed and he told Solomon and gave him great advice, 2 chapters worth of great advice on how he should obey God's statutes and commandments. And then he promised his son, he said, if you just stay in God's will.
Amen. Amen.
He just said, if you stay in God's will,
Amen.
then God's going to bless you, boy.
Yes.
Stay in God's will and follow his statutes and his commandments. God's going to bless you, and you'll be happy.
Yes.
And all he had to do was just listen to his dad.
Amen.
And he did, and Israel was divided, and the kingdom was ripped from the grandson, his son, and pain and suffering followed. And it's been pain and suffering in Israel ever since.
Yeah.
All because the son wouldn't listen to his daddy's advice. Church, there's people here that might be suffering because you're not listening to your father's advice.
Amen.
He gives some advice, and he talked about there's no satisfaction in labor. This is found in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 7. I'm just going to share it. The Bible says, all the labor of man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. You know, he would know. You know, he would know that. Now, I love filling my appetite. I was so hungry today that I ate chicken in the cafeteria at the hospital, and I thought, man, this is good.
Wow.
Better than KFC. And for some reason, that third chicken wing wasn't that good. You know, I wonder why the first one, see, was just tremendous, and the third one was kind of weak. And I realized my appetite was getting filled. See, as I was getting full, I started slowing down and tasting what I was eating instead of doing like Curtis and inhaling it. So here in the Bible, let me tell you, God's Word, our appetite should not be getting filled. Our appetite, God's Word, man, it's a buffet that lasts and endureth forever. When we get that food and we drink of that water of life and we taste and know that he's good, that's what Jesus said, taste and know that I'm good. Here we can see that he was talking about this labor. The labor man is for his mouth, and yet the appetite is not filled. You can labor all your life. When does it stop? I mean, when do you get enough? And the answer is you never will. It doesn't matter. Some of us have retired, but the work, I have heard people say, I don't know, I'm so busy being retired that I don't know how I got anything done with the job.
Amen.
I've heard more than one people say that in my lifetime. I don't get it, but there's people that literally are more busy being retired than they were when they were. I'd like to think that if I was going to retire, I'd just have me a hammock, and my wife's going to bring me fruit drinks, and we're just going to be able to,
You're going to Costa Rica as well?
you know.
Me and you had the same dream.
So it's just one of those things. Here he says, what hath the wise more than a fool? What hath the poor? What knoweth to walk before the living? In other words, basically paraphrasing, he's saying, man, we're all in the same boat. You know, you can work all the time, but you know what? At the end of it, it's vanity and vexation of spirit. It's emptiness. It's pointless. You know, and I shared that before in another example about the lady that was cutting the grass, and it was so beautiful, and she spent hours of her life. If you could go back and just spend the amount of time that she put in that yard, and as beautiful as it was, You ought to see that yard today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no trim, the bushes in the front are gone. Somebody who was lazy just uprooted that thing and put mulch down right over the top of it. And if she could see her yard, she'd be so disappointed. And you couldn't factor the hours that that woman and the love and the heart and the devotion that she put into it. All for what? For it to go to a stranger. For her to go to somebody else that she doesn't even know. Even in our house, I couldn't help but think, we got things and I got pictures. And when we moved down here, I was throwing out pictures of me in baseball going, and all this stuff. And I was like, maybe I need to keep this because, I can show it to my grandson. But the truth is, he'll look at it all of 2 seconds and be like, oh, Dad, you look, Grandpa, wow, you look young, you had hair. And that's the end of it. And then I'm going to kick the bucket. My son's going to keep maybe 2 boxes worth of his dad's junk, and he'll pull it out every now and then, and he'll smile. Maybe him and Poppy will reminisce and say, I remember Dad this, and I remember Dad that. But ultimately, you know what? The grandkids, they'll know me as Pop, and then they might have a keepsake, and then they're going to have a kids, and everything about me is going to be thrown away. Everything about me, even my words, if my son don't carry it on and allow God to teach love and forgiveness and offer salvation, even that will disappear. He said there's no satisfaction in labor. There's no satisfaction in the future. We can plan for it all day long, but there's no satisfaction. None of us are promised tomorrow. Every day truly is a gift. Every day is truly a gift. And let me tell you, the cancer that's probably going to kill you, you're probably born with it, and it takes 8 years to fester, but it's going to happen. The heart's going to go out. The ice is going to go. The bullets are going to fly. Something's going to happen. It's going to take your life. And the bottom line is, it's all vanity and vexation of spirit. We got an appointment with death, and we can't deny it. And when you're a Christian, you can almost embrace it. It's the last enemy. Death is going to be death and hell. We cast into the lake of fire. It's an enemy, but yet a Christian can embrace it as a friend. A Christian can say, you know what, I'm not going to fear, because though, when I walk through that valley of the shadow of death, I'm not going to fear no evil. I know God is with me. His rod and staff, they comfort us, and He's going to lead us beside the still waters. We got a God that is capable, a God that is able, a God that is willing, and a God that sanctifies and regenerates us, strengthens us, encourages us. He said, better is the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. Oh, better the sight of the eyes than the wandering of the desire. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. So the sight of the eyes and the wandering of desire. There's people that desire. When does that ever stop? I got a golf cart and I'm proud of it. I'm liking it. I mean, the thing should have got drowned in a pond. It got stuck in 11 feet from the pond apparently, or somewhere around there. And it could have been bad news. And all of a sudden, all I hear about is, it's so slow, it only goes like 8 miles an hour. And all of a sudden I visualized, and Jay was like, well, maybe we can put some bigger tires on it. And I said, well, if it's only going like 8 to 10 miles an hour, and I put big tires on it, they're going to be heavier, and it's going to even go slower. And then I think to myself, we're the desire of the eyes, and I say, you know what, Jamie, even getting out of the car today, and I'm not bad-mouthing my wife, I love her, she's awesome, and she's always right to the most part. Nevertheless, she's like, we can paint that thing orange, so it's not that puke green. And I couldn't help but think, as soon as she said painted orange, I visualized orange and tiger paws and diamond plates and big tires and maybe one of those plastic things to keep wind off. And I visualized a lift kit. I can get a lift kit, some kind of limo thing, and maybe even put a little flag that says Solid Rock. I mean, I don't know, but I had vision for my golf cart, and I thought to myself, the eye, it's doing it again. I'm satisfied with the little tires. I'm satisfied with the puke green. I'm satisfied with 8 miles an hour. I've been blessed with a gift, and I'm satisfied. But your eyes are always seeking, always improving. I love it when my wife says, Clay, do you think I'm gaining weight? My son will tell you, his daddy's no fool. Yes, your pastor.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to say that. And I look and say, absolutely not, you look perfect.
Good answer.
So you lying? I'm not going to say, that's not anybody's business about whether I think I'm lying or not. But if my wife ever asks me, do you think I'm losing weight, I would give her yes. Do you think I'm looking good? The answer is yes. And then she says, well, I think I need to lose weight. But my answer is, well, you're crazy. And I still buy her chocolate and Twinkies and donuts or anything else she wants, and I don't ever give her looks. Why? Because my desire is making her happy.
Yeah.
My desire is keeping a happy family. That's my desire. My desire is not for, if I held her accountable and said, Jamie, now you're not the same person, you should be 115 pounds, because that's what you were when I married you. There ain't no telling what she'd say about me. I have 80 pounds to lose and hair to grow. It never worked. Let me tell you something, our desires change. In church, our true desire needs to be in the Lord. If you're going to be successful as a church and as a Christian, your desire has to be in Jesus Christ. That's what will give you peace. That'll give you victory. That will encourage you. That'll give you strength. That'll give you where you can sit there and say, I have no fear in the shadow of death. That's my desire, is being in God's will. How do we know that? There's no satisfaction in labor, no satisfaction in the future. He says, seeing there be many things, I'm going to close with this, seeing there be many things that increase vanity, what is a man the better? For who knoweth what is good for a man in this life, all the days of his vain life? Isn't that kind of sad? You seeing his terminology and what he's saying, talking about a vain life, you know he's thinking of himself. And again, it's hard for me, Bill, to feel sorry for a multi-gazillionaire. Oh, poor Solomon. But you know what? He wasn't right with Christ, and absolutely, poor Solomon. Because I don't care how much money you got or how no money you got. If you're not right with Christ, you are unhappy. And your life is vanity, vain, and vexation of spirit.
Amen.
He said, for who knoweth what is good for man in this life, all the days of his vain life, which he spinneth as a shadow. It's like a vapor. Spinneth as a shadow. You know, a shadow is not clear. A shadow is not clear. You're going to spend your life and not be clear. Oh, clarity comes by Jesus. For who can tell man what shall be after him under the sun? That was just what we were saying about that lady. Who can tell man what's going to be after him? Your life is going to be like that. And before you know it, I remember, I'll close with this. My dad was so proud one time he brought a pair, and he's here to bear witness. He actually brought me a pair of my grandfather's tidy whities. Underwear from 1937. He's like, it's still elastic.
I think we still have it.
Now, he's keeping them keepsake.
This
I
might
have
be
no
worth something
idea.
one day.
I'll be honest with you. I did not disrespect my dad's grandfather's undergarments. I just looked at Mom like, please help me.
Got you covered, baby.
Now, that's special for whatever reason to my dad. And the day will come when, if they pass, and I pray that doesn't happen, I pray we go up together. That's my living hope. But the day will come when I'll be going through some box and I'm going to run across my grandfather's tidy whities. And I know before I even pull them out of the box, Jamie's going to say, don't think about it. But knowing me, because my dad kept them, I'm going to keep them all the same.
Oh, Lord.
You believe me?
Oh, yes, I believe you.
I mean, I'm not going to put them in a plaque and hang them on the wall. Not like that. They'll stay in the box, which will stay in the corner somewhere out of the way. But see, I'm going to latch on to the memory, and then it'll be passed to my son, whether he wants to keep his grandfather.
Some underage, honey.
It'll be passed. What he does from that point. Now, why do I tell you that? Because ultimately, somebody in the Castile line is going to say, truly, my family was nuts. And they'll throw it away. They'll throw it away. Like a shadow, like a vapor. Such is the story of us. But with Christ,
Yeah.
it's eternal.
Amen.
With Christ, the tidy whities is a robe of righteousness that lasts forever.
Yeah.
Never be cast off, never be thrown away, never be defiled, never be hindered or tattered, never be weathered, but it'll be a forever
Amen.
righteousness
Amen.
covered in God's light in His glory. If y'all would, please stand. I'm going to close. I was only 4 minutes over, not a big thing. I hope that message, short as it was, will be a blessing to you. We're going to pick back up. It's getting good now. We're getting out of the introduction to Solomon. We're going to get into the meat. So I'm looking forward to that. So I encourage you as we continue our study in Ecclesiastes, wrote by one of the wisest men that God has ever had, that is writing from his experience. And I pray that our experience, that we'll learn something from it. It's been an encouraging word. I hope it's encouraged you. All hearts and minds clear. Does anybody need to say one or anything on their heart they'd like to share before we dismiss and go into choir singing?